Today's webinar is very unique. I haven't done one like this before. We actually got the idea for this. Matt Price and I were talking a few days ago, and about a month ago we did a webinar where during that webinar, as part of it, Matt Price and I did a role play. And I actually had a lot of people ask me for the recording, and of course, as luck would have it, the recording function did not work that day on the webinar, and I haven't been able to get the file. It was kind of a corrupted file. And so anyway, we were talking about getting that created, and we said, you know, it was a really popular webinar. A lot of people asked us for the recording, so we decided to just make it a little bit more comprehensive and do a full handling objections webinar and do a lot of role playing. So that's what we're going to do today, and we're really excited about it. What we did was yesterday we sent out an email to many of you, and we asked for a list of your common objections. And we got back in emails we probably had about 30 or so objections. And so I put all the objections into this webinar, and we're going to go through and role play those. And but before we do, I'm going to cover a couple things about objections first, kind of by way of introduction. First of all, this webinar, of course, is hosted by CCSalesPro.com. And our core value, our first core value, is always learning. And this is part of that. We're always learning. So at CCSalesPro, if you're on our team or if you're thinking about joining our team, then keep in mind that our core value is always learning. We always want to learn new things. We want to improve, and we want to grow in our knowledge of the industry, sales, and every other area. Now, first of all, I have a slide here that I want to talk with you about before we get into the objections. Before we get into all that, we need to understand what I call objection language. In other words, what is the customer really saying? Because that's what handling objections all comes down to, is what is the customer really saying? Because a lot of times the objection isn't what it seems, as I'm sure that you know. And so I want to talk about understanding objection language before we get into it. First of all, understand that 70% of in-person sales come from interested clients. So in other words, when you walk into a business, you don't need to get too worked up over people that are not interested. If you first walk in and somebody just, isn't at all interested and kind of kicking you out the door, don't let that get to you. I don't want us role-playing all these objections. I don't want it to make you guys feel like, wow, the most important thing is knowing how to handle all these terrible objections. Really, it's not. The most important thing is getting clients interested at the beginning and then keeping them interested, because 70% of in-person sales, and that's a low estimate I've gotten from just my conversations with dozens of sales agents. If I ask them, of the last 10 sales that you made, tell me about those. How many of them came from a client that when you walked in, they were interested and they never really tried to give you any serious objections? And I found that 7 out of 10 of your sales are going to come from clients that are already interested. So your primary goal is really to make more clients interested initially, not to get them switched back over from being disinterested. Now, I'm going to talk about that more with some of these objections that were submitted, but keep in mind that a lot of these objections that you're hearing out in the field, guys, we can avoid those completely with our opening that we use, with our presentation, the way that we walk in, things like that. There's a lot of things that we can do at the beginning of the pitch to make people interested so that we don't even have to deal with these objections to begin with. And so, of course, it is very important to deal with these different objections, and some of them are going to come up more frequently than others. But keep in mind that most of your sales are going to come from interested clients, and also keep in mind that your goal is actually to avoid objections altogether. Now, we're going to give you some, presentations, some things that you can do to rebuttal the objections once you get them, but your real goal is to try to avoid the objections altogether. The reason why is because objections are usually saying one or both of, I don't trust you, or I don't like you. Most objections, and we'll talk about this in detail in a minute, but most of the objections you're going to hear today, really what the customer is saying is, I don't trust you, or I don't like you. Now, that may not be your fault. Sometimes it is, our fault. Sometimes the customer doesn't like us, and it is our fault. Sometimes they don't trust us, and it is our fault because of what we say or how we act. But sometimes it's not our fault, but whether it's our fault or not, that is our problem. So our problem isn't really the objection. You got to keep that in mind when we're talking about how to handle the objection. Our problem isn't really the objection per se. The problem is they don't trust you or they don't like you. That is really the core objection that you have to overcome. Objections are usually a way for clients to validate their first impression. So, if the client has an impression of you that says, this person is someone I don't want to do business with, then they're going to spend the rest of the presentation validating the fact that they don't want to do business with you by saying things like, well, this is too difficult. I don't want to get involved with this. And, I don't want to switch. And all these things that they say that really just mean I don't like you or I don't trust you. It's usually a way for them to validate their first impression. Understand the importance of appearance, facial expressions, and nonverbal communication. One of the most difficult things about a webinar is that you don't really get to see any of the nonverbal communication that goes along with the pitch. It's always interesting when I train local sub-agents. I'll have a sub-agent, we'll do a training in person, me and him in the office, and I'll be training him, and he'll go out in the field, and boy, he says, man, I'm using all the lines, Then I go out in the field with him, and he's amazed that I'm getting all of these sales, and I'm generating all of this interest that he's not able to generate. And he said, I don't understand. I'm saying the same thing that you're saying. Yeah, but you're not saying it the same way. And it's very important that you have that nonverbal communication. So keep in mind that that's also very important. So on this webinar, we're going to focus on the verbal communication side of things. But keep in mind that your nonverbal communication, the tone of your voice, the way that you look, the confidence that you exude when you walk into a place of business, just all this nonverbal communication is extremely important. And then lastly, track your responses to gain an understanding. Now, one of the most common things that I'll do when an agent will call me and they'll say something like, everybody is telling me they're not interested. Okay? Now, that is very general information, and to be real honest, as a sales trainer, myself or Matt Price, we can't really do much with that information. Everybody's telling me they're not interested. Okay, well, what exactly does that mean? How many people did you go and visit? Of those people, how many of them said they were not interested, and in what way did they say that? Did they say they don't want to switch? What is it? What's the actual objection? You've got to track the real numbers and be honest with yourself. And this is what I found. I have found that when you actually track the numbers, it's actually not depressing. It's usually invigorating because, you'll get out in the field and you'll spend all day out there in the field and you come back and you think, man, everybody today just slammed me, And then you actually sit down and look at the numbers and you realize, actually, I only talked to 5 business owners today. And so you realize really the problem wasn't that everybody was slamming you. The problem was just that you had a down day as far as contacts. And you only talked to 5 business owners. Well, it's not unusual for 5 business owners in a row to not be interested. That's not unusual at all. So if you only talked to 5 business owners and all 5 of them weren't interested, that's not really a problem at all. That's just sales, But if you actually talk to 20 business owners in a row and all of them said they were not interested, now we realize there is a problem with the presentation. So you've got to track your numbers and track these objections. So if you're sitting there right now thinking to yourself, James isn't going to be able to help me, Matt's not going to be able to help me because everybody's telling me these certain objections, okay? Number one, understand that someone could make sales in your market. It's very important you understand that. That is a fact. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Someone could make sales in your market. All right? I've never had a market where a sales agent would come in and, I can't succeed here. And then a few months later, I get another agent in that market and he is succeeding and he's selling. Okay? Someone could sell in your market. So understand there is something you can do about these objections. There is a way that you can overcome them. There is a way that you can adjust your pitch. There is a way that you can present yourself that will get you results. So don't ever look at this business, don't ever look at the objections you're hearing and the results you're getting and start to feel like, well, I guess I can't succeed in this business. No one is going to sign the contract. No one is going to switch to me. No one is going to give me a shot. That is absolutely untrue because people are giving other agents a shot. People are signing other contracts. So it's not that. That's not the problem, okay? When you're in business, you got to look at yourself. You got to look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to understand that there's got to be a way to handle the objection to, do that so that you can succeed. Now, again, that doesn't mean everybody's going to say yes. A lot of people are going to say no, but that's sales. So you have to understand, first of all, if you don't believe that you can succeed in the industry, then you're not going to. If you believe that you're going to fail, you will always prove yourself to be right. And so you have to first of all understand that you can succeed. There are agents that are doing it. So I say all this because I know when you do these rebuttals to objections, everybody loves it and they love listening to the recording and all that. But it's really kind of a negative thing if you think about it. If you're not careful, you get into this mode where you're waiting for the objection. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me no. I made 2 sales yesterday. I made 1 sale the day before that. And all 3 of those people, not one of those 3 gave me any of the objections that are in this PowerPoint. Okay? None of them. And the reason why is because they were interested. I was offering them savings. I presented myself in a way and have a presentation memorized that I can present that avoids a lot of objections. Now, I do sometimes get objections, but by and large, most of my clients are interested. So when you go in and you pitch somebody, don't expect them to not be interested. Don't expect them to give you an objection. And let the objections surprise you a little bit. Okay, just because you have the rebuttal memorized, let the objection surprise you a little bit. Show your concern. Try to understand what their real issue is. Don't just boom, boom, boom. I know the answer to all these objections. Just because you memorize the rebuttal doesn't mean you're going to get a positive result. If you deliver that rebuttal in a way that makes them feel like you hear that rebuttal all day long, it's just going to confirm what they were thinking. Let me give you an example. Okay, let's say that you walk into a client's location. And they say, well, I don't think you can save me any money. And you say, oh, you know what? I can definitely save you money. Here's the deal. And you just boom, 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 boom. You give them this line. Now, what do they think? They're going to think, you know what? This guy is just like everybody else out there telling me that he can save me money when he really can't, because all day long he obviously hears people say this to him. Okay? It confirms what they say. But if someone says, I don't think you can save me money, and you say, well, boy, I know I could definitely offer you some savings. Do you just feel like that other people have come in the past and wasted your time? If you start off with something like that, it's really going to throw them off to be like, wow, this guy must not hear this all the time. It surprised him that I said that he couldn't save me any money. Okay, so it's very important, your nonverbal communication and how you handle these objections. It's important that you don't get too negative and you don't get to the point where you expect people to tell you no, that you expect people to give you an objection. Work on your opening presentation and your pitch, and you should be able to expect people to tell you yes. Now, does everybody tell you yes? Of course not. And a lot of people are not interested, and you're not going to sell everybody. A lot of people you're not going to sell, but you want to be prepared for the people that are going to say yes. All right, so with all that being said, we're going to get into the objections. Now, this first slide, I'm not going to have Matt Price role play on this first slide. I'm just going to talk about these because these are what I call some non-essential objections. Now, again, every objection I have listed here is actually one that I received from an agent, so that's why they're in these slides. So I'm going to go through these. Some of these are just either misinformation where maybe you didn't understand exactly how the program worked, or it's an objection that's almost impossible to handle or something like that. So I'm going to talk about these, and then when we get to the next slide, then Matt's going to be our customer, and he's going to say these objections to me, and then I'm going to be the salesperson and role play them. So let's get these kind of out of the way first, some of the non-essential objections. All right, we got a couple where, a couple objections submitted. My friend or family member is my agent for my merchant account. Okay, so first of all, here's how we handle that. I always say something to the effect of, so you feel like it would be a betrayal of that relationship to switch to another vendor, even if we can offer significant savings? So I say it like that. And, usually if I say it like that, 90% of these are going to say, yes, it would be a betrayal of the relationship. And when they say that, you say, okay, no problem. Here's my card. If they ever get out of the business and you need a provider, you can give me a call. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Okay? I mean, guys, let's be honest here, okay? If her son is doing her credit card processing, do you really think you're going to get that sale? That's ridiculous. Move on to the next one, okay? There's no reason to even try there. But I will say one of my biggest accounts I ever got, when I went in, the guy said, oh, my friend is doing it. And I almost just, left. But I used this line I said, so you feel like it'd be a betrayal of that relationship to switch to another vendor, even if we could offer significant savings? And he said, well, what kind of savings are we talking about? So, I'm glad I didn't leave. The guy now he has like 9 locations of this mobile phone accessory store. And that was a big sale for me. I make a lot of money on that deal. So I'm glad I didn't walk out. So I would at least give that line, because you need to evaluate the status of the relationship. He was really just telling me that to say, I think my friend gave me a good deal. He wasn't saying it because he wanted me to know that he couldn't, cancel on his friend. Okay, so again, these objections have a hidden meaning sometimes. So sometimes when somebody says my friend is doing it or my family member is doing it, sometimes they tell you that because they want you to understand that they probably have a really good deal, but they don't necessarily want you to know that they would never switch. So you have to use a line to confirm that. The second objection, I got another one that said, we have a friend who manages our merchant services. He does it part-time. Again, so I would handle that the same way. You just ask, so you feel it would be a betrayal of that relationship to switch to another vendor, even if we can offer you significant savings. Okay, here's the next one that we have. A common objection is the 3-year contract. Almost nobody is willing to sign such a contract. Since the bonuses are a prerequisite to a 3-year contract, I assume there are no more bonuses. Okay, this one here was just some misinformation. I hope you're on the webinar today. If you're not, I'll shoot you an email later. But we don't sell 3-year agreements. All the upfront bonuses and free equipment are included with no 3-year agreement and no early termination fee. So this objection just came in from an agent that maybe is selling for another processor. I'm not sure. But I agree that 3-year contracts are not ideal. I don't really agree that nobody's willing to sign the contract, since I got, probably 250 sales in the last few years of people signing 3-year agreements. So it's not that they're impossible to sign, but it definitely is a lot easier to get somebody to sign a month-to-month agreement with no early termination fee. And if you currently do not have the ability to do that, then you need to join our team, because we offer all the upfront bonuses, free equipment, residual, all that. And we have month-to-month agreements with no early termination fee and free equipment. So, keep that in mind. All right, next one. The long application has a lot of questions. The merchants are wary to disclose such information. This is a presentation flaw issue. You need to learn the little tricks and tips that make the difference here. Okay, this particular objection here, again, we have to understand that obviously the problem isn't that the merchants are afraid to sign the documents, because again, I had 3 people sign the documents in the last 2 days. We have agents on here that had 20 merchants sign the documents in the last month. So the problem isn't that the merchant is afraid to sign the documents. The problem is the presentation flow. You have to learn how to flow through the paperwork in the right order. Now, here's what I'm going to recommend that you would do if you're having this problem and if people are afraid to sign the contract. Then what you need to do is a couple things. First of all, you need to make sure before you whip out the paperwork that you explain to them that it's a month-to-month agreement. That's going to help a lot. And then secondly, you need to go online, go to CCSalesTraining.com, sign up for the free, you can create a free account there. And then in our training, you'll see the closing and presentation stage in the sales training course. And watch the videos on that, and I will walk you through some tips and tricks you can do to help people get through the paperwork easily and to flow through it. People will say, another one we got, people will say, I don't understand the fees. Other companies are offering cheaper prices. Again, if they don't understand the fee structure, then this again is a presentation issue. When they say they don't understand the fees, we need to simply go back to the cost analysis and start working through it. If you're the one that submitted this objection to me, let me encourage you, if you're not already on our team, to get on our team, and then to make sure you go through the training several times, because once you go through our training several times, you should not have these types of questions. If you do have these types of questions, email myself, or if you're on Matt Price's team, email Matt, and we would be glad to resend you videos that specifically outline exactly how to deal with these types of situations, okay? All right, so those are some of the non-essential objections that, again, really deal pointedly with the sales agent and the knowledge of the sales agent and the skill of the sales agent. Those are things where, and again, really, not to put anybody down, if you submitted that objection, you are in good company, because probably thousands of other sales agents across the country literally don't know how to answer those simple questions and how to handle those simple objections. So you're not alone. It's just that you don't need to have those problems anymore, because you can go to CCSalesPro.com, you can go to CCSalesTraining.com, and you can find answers to all of those in the videos that we offer very, very easily. Once you join our team, we'll offer you one-on-one coaching to get those problems resolved. Okay. Let me see if I can get Matt Price's line unmuted here, and we'll get this started here. Hold on one second. All right, Matt, you there?
Sure am.
All right, now let me give a little introduction to this, and then I'm going to have Matt read us our first objection that we have up here on the screen. Now, Matt Price is our National Sales Director, and for those of you that don't know Matt, he is a very good salesperson, and he is starting actually already started a new team. They are on fire. They're doing amazing things already, and this team that he has started is really targeted to agents that don't have a lot of industry experience, that need more one-on-one coaching and structure. And so what Matt will do is, if you sign up on Matt's team, he will, have live, I do a live training event that you can attend that. It's about 6 hours of intensive online live training. And then once that's done and you have the basics, then Matt's going to give you one-on-one coaching and walk you through getting your first 5 deals. He'll even speak to the merchant on your behalf to help you get the deal. So it's really an incredible program that's off to a great start. So I just want to give a little intro there. Now, as we go through these objections, I want you guys to understand something first called active listening. Many of you are getting sick of hearing me say active listening. So I'm just going to keep talking about it because I like it and it's, it works. So if you don't like it, sorry, you can tune out for the next 30 seconds. Okay, active listening. Active listening is where you need to make sure that you understand before you seek to be understood. In other words, when the client says something like an objection, you want to make sure that you understand how that client really feels about that objection and what the core problem is before you actually present, the rebuttal to the objection. All right. So I'm going to be utilizing a little bit of that. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll just give this, regular rebuttal. I haven't, by the way, guys, I haven't rehearsed this. I haven't even looked at this PowerPoint. So, I wanted it to be off the cuff because otherwise it's not fair. When you're out in the field, the client doesn't say to you, hey, in a couple seconds, I'm going to say this, so be prepared, So I didn't rehearse at all. I haven't looked at this one bit. So this is exactly what I would actually say if I was out in the field, trying to make some sales. So, all right, Matt, are you ready?
I'm sorry, what was that? I wasn't actively listening.
Nice. Great. How do you feel about that, Matt? All right.
No, I 100% agree. You really need to listen to what the merchant's telling you. Don't be a robot and just have what you're going to say already planned out. You're not looking for people that are not interested. You're out there searching for people that are interested, and don't try to switch them.
Yeah, exactly.
So listen to what they have to say.
And also listen to what they're not saying. Find out the other hidden. So, all right, here we go, Matt. Go ahead and give me the first objection we got up on the screen if you can see it there.
Yeah. You know what, James? It's too much of a hassle to change. I've had 2 or 3 processors, and I really don't want to change.
So you feel like switching over is just a pain, inconvenience you don't want to deal with right now?
Yeah, it always, there's always so much paperwork, and like I said, I've had 2 or 3, and every time I switch, there's always something going wrong within the first few weeks, and it's just a big hassle. Really?
Now what went wrong last time you switched, Matt?
Well, they gave us a free equipment, similar to what you're offering, but for the first week, the equipment wasn't even working properly, and the agent just didn't really even. He didn't tell me how to set it up. He didn't tell me what was wrong. I had to sit on hold for 20 minutes with their customer service, and it was just a bad experience.
Wow. Matt, I'll be honest with you, and I understand what you're saying. I mean, I talk to people all day long that have those same kind of issues, and sometimes I feel like a used car salesman, like all the other salespeople are doing things that are, either dishonest or just incompetent, and so it really gives a bad name to me and the whole industry, really, and that's a shame. But the thing I've done, Matt, is I've really designed a special program to deal with these concerns because they're legitimate concerns. I understand where you're coming from. Now, here's what I do, and you tell me if you think that this would make sense, okay? The real concern here is basically you don't know me that well, so obviously you're not going to have a lot of trust with me at the beginning. So I need to design a program where you're not at risk to have all these kind of problems like you had before. So this is what I've done, Matt. We do a couple things. First of all, when we provide you with our free equipment, you don't need to cancel your current contract, your current processor, until after we come out with our free terminal. And when we bring the free terminal out, we provide you with a month-to-month agreement. Now, here's the big difference between the month-to-month agreement and the 3-year agreement, Matt. Not only is it that you're not locked in, but think about what that does to me, okay? The other agents that came, they set you up on a 3-year agreement, didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you think about it, Matt, once you signed that 3-year agreement, what was their motivation to come back and provide you with excellent service?
Well, now that you put it like that, I guess they really didn't have any.
No, they didn't. Now with me, if I give you a month-to-month agreement with no early termination fee and free equipment, so you literally have no obligation to stay with me if I don't do an excellent job, obviously my motivation is going to be a lot different, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it would.
Okay. Now here's what I would recommend. This is what I recommend to all my clients. If you've had a bad experience in the past, this is what I recommend. How about I bring in my free terminal? Well, first I'm going to show you what my savings will be, but let's assume that I can give you some significant savings, okay? And I offer you the savings. Now, also realize I'm not going to raise my prices, because if I do, you're going to cancel, so obviously you're going to have a price lock-in, which is great. Now, I'm going to offer you some savings, and if I can do that, how about I bring in my free terminal, get it all set up so you're ready to go, and you can use that terminal. But what we're going to do is this. We're going to leave your old terminal in place and active for a month. That way you get to see your first statement, you get to see how much money I'm really saving you, the service I provide, and if at any point it gets to be too much of a hassle, it's not going well, you feel like I'm not holding up my end of the bargain, all you have to do is call me up and say the word, we cancel your account with no penalty, and I take my terminal back, and you just keep on doing what you're doing. Does that sound like a program that would be a little bit more to your liking, Matt?
You know what? I'll give it a shot. What are your rates?
So there we go. Now we're going to get into that. Now, guys, notice a couple things about that. Right at the end of the pitch, some of the most important things that you say are right at the very, very end, right before they respond. You notice what I said at the very end? I said, now, what do you think, Matt? Does that program sound a little bit better for you? Okay, notice that line at the end. When you say things like that, and when you use words like obviously, obviously that would be better, wouldn't it, Matt? You have to say things a certain way. I could say all these objections and all these rebuttals, but that doesn't really do any good. You have to mask them in what I call buffers. You have to make stuff sound good. So when you say things like that would be a little bit better, wouldn't it, Matt? That's pretty easy to say yes to. Isn't it? Anyway, it's a lot easier to say yes to that. So go to The Art of Selling, I think it's called, by Tom Hopkins. He has a lot of what he calls tie downs and things like that you can use, like isn't it, doesn't it, wouldn't it, won't they. But you also want to use words like obviously, or that's a little better. Saying things like that. You want to make it easy for somebody to give you the response that you want. Now, these next few that we're going to go through, I basically, guys, categorized all of these objections into the I don't want to switch, category. And so we're going to fly through some of these others. Tom Hopkins. What did I say? Did I not say Tom Hopkins? Anyway, Tom Hopkins is the author there. I had a question there. So, all right, here we go. Go ahead, Matt. Give me the next one there.
You know what, James? I just signed a new contract for 3 years, and it's at a pretty good rate, so I'm not really interested.
Now, when did you sign that, Matt? Just in the last month or so?
Yeah, it was about 2 months ago.
About 2 months ago, okay. Well, I certainly understand that, Matt, and you basically feel like for you to switch, you would have to probably pay an early termination fee or some kind of cancellation fee, right?
Oh, yeah, they already said there would be a termination fee. So
they got you all locked in like that. Boy. Well, first of all, Matt, let me just tell you that, on my end, I don't do that to my clients, and I'll tell you why. I found that most credit card processors that get you into a 3-year agreement, because they feel like they have you locked in, a lot of times they don't provide the best service because, the agent might not, respond as well as you would like, usually because they know they already have you locked in. Have you personally had any bad experiences in the past with credit card processors not providing the kind of service that you want?
A couple times I have. It hasn't been too bad.
Hasn't been a big issue for you. So basically, your only issue at this point really is that cancellation fee because, obviously you feel like you're locked in with that, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, I tell you what I'd like to do, Matt. A couple things. First of all, I would still like to give you a free cost analysis. It doesn't cost you anything. It's my time that I'm expending. And I'd like you to have that so you would be able to at least have it in your file. In the future, you'd be able to see what our rates would be versus the company that you have now. And secondly, if I bring back the cost analysis and the savings are significant enough for you, I tell you what I would do. I would actually be willing to help you pay the early termination fee so that we could get you out of that contract and into a situation that would make more sense, and also into a month-to-month agreement as well so you wouldn't be locked in the future. Now, Matt, if I would be willing to put my time in for free and do the cost analysis and invest my time, and if I'd be willing to, offer to pay the early termination fee if the savings are significant, would you at least allow me to give you a cost analysis?
You know what, James? It's just I just switched a couple months ago, and it was kind of a big hassle, and I really don't want to go through that right now.
Oh, why? I don't blame you at all. No, you say it was a big hassle. What happened?
Well, just all the paperwork, and I mean, it took a while for the terminal to get here. It took over a week for the terminal to get here, and you know, I was out of business for that. You know, I do about $5,000 a month in credit card processing, and
you can't afford to be out for a whole week.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I understand that. Well, first of all, Matt, let me assure you, I would never do something like that. That's just crazy. What I do is I always leave the other terminal in place, usually for a couple weeks after I install your new free terminal. So that way, you know, even if something were to happen, you have that backup terminal, so you would never have any downtime. And on top of that, I live right around the corner from you, Matt. So if you ever had a problem with your terminal, I'd be able to swing around right away and get that problem addressed and get it fixed or have a new terminal shipped out to you. Matt, you know, and again, I apologize, and I do, believe me, I really do understand your concern. A lot of customers give me the same problem. Let me just ask this, though. Could I at least just do the free cost analysis? And like I said, if you decide not to switch after I give you the cost analysis, there'll be no hard feelings. I'm not going to push it. I understand you're in a contract, but could I at least do the cost analysis just so you could see our savings? And then if you end up sticking that in a drawer for 3 years from now, I'm okay with that. Are you okay with it if I'm okay with it?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, sorry, I had to keep going there. All right, so you guys get the idea there. Now, what I'm going to do, when somebody tells me that they can't switch, which actually I probably should have put this in the can't switch one, but if they tell me they can't switch, all I'm going to try to do is I want to do the free cost analysis. Now, here's the reason why. There are 5 stages to the sales process. You meet the business owner. What comes next? Obtain the processing statement. Your goal, your only goal, once you meet the business owner, should be to obtain the processing statement. That's your only goal. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about whether or not you think you could sell them or whether or not you think they're going to buy from you. That's irrelevant. All you want to do is get the processing statement, because once you get the processing statement, the whole dynamic of that sale is going to totally change and turn upside down. You would be shocked. I mean, I've had people tell me there is 0 chance that I'm going to switch before my contract is up in a year. And I will say, okay, well then I tell you what. Let me go ahead and get the cost analysis out of the way, because a year from now you're going to want me to do a cost analysis, right? And they're going to say, yeah. Okay, let me go ahead and get that out of the way. I'm going to do a cost analysis. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just my time. I'm going to give that back to you. You put it in a drawer, and then I'll put you in follow-up for a year from now and see if you want to switch at that time. I mean, I've gone that far to the point where I basically agreed that I wasn't even going to bother them. I was just going to come back in a year, and as long as I could do the cost analysis now. And then I get the cost analysis done, and I'm saving them $200 a month. And guess what? They want to switch. Okay? That's because the cost analysis is going to totally change the dynamic. So go after the statement, whether or not they say that they're not going to go with you. Your goal is to get the statement, not anything else. Okay, Matt, if you can see the next one, go for it.
You know, you guys are all the same. You'll change me over, and I'll have nothing but trouble, and I won't be able to get a hold of anybody to help me.
Wow, Matt. It sounds like you had a really, really bad situation in the past, right?
A few situations.
A few. Good. Now, how many times have you switched in the last, say, like 5 years? How many processors have you had?
Let's see. 3.
Wow. Good night. 3. Now, why is it that happens? Is it because the agent deserts you, or is it because they raise their prices? I mean, what is it that's making you switch like that?
You know, there's a little bit of everything.
Good grief. Well, Matt, let me ask you.
The rates, everybody's always telling me they have a better rate.
And then they don't.
And, you know, it turns out that they're making it up in some other kind of fee.
Now, Matt, those 3 different processors signed you up. I'm going to take a guess, okay, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to guess that they all had you sign a contract that was a 3-year or at least a multi-year contract with a cancellation fee. Is that about right?
Yes, sir.
They did. Wow. Now, I got a question, Matt. Why do you think that they do that? Why would they have you sign a multi-year contract for something like this?
I just figured that was the way the industry worked.
Nope. I don't have 3-year contracts. I have month-to-month agreements. Now, why do you think I have month-to-month agreements and they have 3-year agreements? What's the difference, do you think? Now, I'm going to stop Matt here because you guys know where I'm going with this. Guys, one of the most important things you can do with an objection is get the customer to rebuttal their own objection. If you have somebody, especially like this particular guy that, you know, is obviously angry, okay, there's basically nothing you're going to say that's going to get this guy to switch. I'll be honest with you, okay? But you can get him to say some stuff that'll make him switch. And what you want to do in this case is, kind of pit him against himself and say, and ask them questions. Why is that? Why do you think they have a 3-year agreement? And inevitably, they're going to, it's so funny. I love doing this because you'll see the light come on, It's like they're sitting there thinking, and then they go, oh, well, I guess they want to get me locked in so that if they raise the rates, and they start to get angry. It's so funny. I love doing this line because they'll get angry. And they'll be like, well, I guess it's because they want to lock me in so that if they give me bad service and crappy prices, then they, and they get angry, And then I can switch that anger and, channel that into, yeah, exactly. Now, I offer month-to-month agreements. So that would mean that the reverse is true about me, wouldn't it? And then they're going to say, well, yeah, I guess so, because obviously, if I don't offer you good service and good prices, what are you going to do? And they'll say, well, I would cancel your service. Exactly. So that means I must be offering pretty good rates and prices. Guys, the month-to-month agreement right now this will change in a few years, but right now the month-to-month agreement is your golden ticket, okay? Because almost everybody is still on a 3-year agreement. So this is something that can set you apart. So when people are like, you're the same as everybody else, you're no different than anybody else, then the two things I would start out asking them about is the 3-year agreement, and I would ask them about the free equipment. Now that's the free equipment used to be the big thing. Now most people have free equipment, but some don't. So you can ask them about free equipment and ask them about the the agreement, and that will set you apart. There's a question here. Let me read this one. Asking if I have these responses written down. I've had like 1 million people ask me that. I'm going to have somebody type out a transcript, a general transcript from today's webinar. So there you go. That answers your question. By the way, this might turn into be kind of a long webinar. I just looked down at the clock. So anyway, we'll keep going here. And if we'll try to I'll speed up my next few because again, the rest of these are all redundant. So I'm not going to have Matt actually do these next ones. I'm going to read through the rest of the slide because all the rest of these are basically I don't want to switch. So let me read through the rest of these and give you a couple quick notes, and then we'll move on to the next one. Mark,
real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just before you move on, real quick. What I've ran into a lot is people that don't have a contract usually are leasing the terminal. I've ran into that a lot, so always make sure you ask about their terminal. Yeah, those two usually go hand in hand. Those are the two things that will set you apart. I've usually found, like Matt said, at least one of those two will set you apart. Either free equipment or the month-to-month agreement, or both will set you apart. Very true. Mark asks, you said you won't raise the rates. I don't know if that's a question, but the answer is yes. I don't raise the rates. So, yeah. Now, you have to understand if you're an independent agent with Total Merchant Services or North American Bank Card, they don't have authorization to raise the rates without your consent basically as the independent agent. Now they can make small changes for interchange adjustments, but that's never going to lose you accounts. I mean that's like last year Discover went from 0.10% assessment to 0.11%. Who's going to cancel over that? That's not a problem. But as far as actually changing the core qualified, mid-qualified, non-qualified rates or the basis points on Interchange Plus, no, I never raised the rates, and neither does Total Merchant Services or North American Bank Card. In fact, we're going in the opposite direction. Our rates have actually gone down over the last few years. So, okay, let me run through the rest of these. Somebody says, I've never had a problem with my current processor. I'm not interested. Actually, Matt, go ahead and tell me that one. This one is actually a little different. Go ahead. James, I've never had a problem with my current provider. I'm really satisfied with them. They treat me well, and I'm just not really interested in switching.
Okay, well, hey, man, that's great. I'll tell you, Matt, honestly, that's the exception of the rule. It seems like everybody I talk to is upset with their processor, so I'm glad you found a good one. That's great. Now, let me ask you a couple questions about it, Matt, just real quick, and then I'll get out of your hair. Now, when you say your current provider, do they have a local independent business owner here in the area that's servicing your account, or is it one of the big companies?
It's a local guy.
It's a local guy. Okay, now, here, guys, just so you know, when it's a local guy, I am at a huge disadvantage right here, and basically, most of my arsenal is depleted right there, okay? If he said, and I will do the rebuttal for that in a second, but if he would have said a big company, then I'm going to go the direction of, well, hey, I provide excellent service. Obviously, I'm local, so, I can provide even better service than who you have now. And what I'd like to do is, since I'm a local company, I would at least like to give you a cost analysis to show you the difference. Okay, now, if it's going to be a local guy, this is how I'm going to proceed with that. If he says that, yeah, it's a local guy and, and I like him, he's a good guy, I say, first of all, Matt, I just want to congratulate you on using a local vendor for your credit card processing. It seems like a lot of business owners around here are going with the bigger companies, even though their prices are, higher. And I just don't understand that. It seems like they want to support the local small business community. So, I really appreciate that. Now, let me ask you another question, if you don't mind. Now, when we're talking about local vendors here, Matt, do you normally get bids for your different services, like something else? Now, if I know his business, like say it's a pizza place, I'm going to say now, Matt, when you get the supplies for your pizza, and you shop at local vendors, I'm assuming you always check around for the best price, don't you?
Yeah, normally I'll let a couple people bid on it, but typically, what'll happen is at the end of my 3-year contract, John over there at Heartland will come by and we'll renew with him. Normally, people are kind of around the same rates, and I really like John, so.
Right. Oh, I definitely understand that. And I mean, obviously, if I was right around the same rates, I'm sure you wouldn't be interested at all. Now, it is interesting you said Heartland, though, Matt, because I've actually had a few people switch over from John. And, one of the reasons they did is that, first of all, as far as the local service, local approach, I mean, we're dead even there. I can give you some letters of reference if you like to show you that, John and I both are local and John's a good guy. However, there's one big problem with this, Matt. What you might not realize is that John is actually an employee of Heartland Payment Systems, which is one of the largest processing companies in the country. Now, I'm not saying that's, a bad thing, but the problem with that is he is not the one that sets those prices. Heartland Payments gives him a level and they say, this is how much profit we're going to make from this account, and you can't go below that. So here's what I'd like to do, okay? I know you get bids. I would like to be the first one to put in a bid for your next round. So how about we do this? Would you mind if I went ahead and gave you a cost analysis? Your prices aren't going to change in the next year while your contract runs out. I'd like to go and give you the cost analysis so you have it on the top of the stack so that when you get bids the next time, mine will be on the top of the stack. Would you mind if I just went ahead and got the cost analysis out of the way, and that way I could at least have my bid on the top of the stack when you look at them again?
Yeah, you know what, James? You seem like a nice guy, and you seem like you know what you're talking about, so definitely.
Okay, so guys, you understand what we're doing there. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, oh, well, that was a stupid line. Now he's not going to sell it for a year. No, obviously I'm going to try to sell it when I come back. But what you have to do is you have to get the statement. So find a way to make them feel like, okay, there's no pressure here, and I can give him the statement. Out of this whole role play, I think this is the one thing that would hopefully surface as something that will help you a lot in your pitch is you've got to get the statement. So find a way, say whatever you need to say to get the statement so you can do the analysis. And then when you come back, okay, let's do a little role play here where now I'm coming back to Matt. I'm going to save him $150 a month. Okay, so I'm saving Matt, roughly whatever, $1,750 a year, give or take. So I'm saving about $1,800 a year. So I now come back to Matt, and I walk in and say, Matt, man, I was really surprised. I was going to come back. I was planning to give you this cost analysis and just have you put it on your stack for bids. But, I got to be honest with you, Matt, I'm going to save you over $1,800 a year from what John is charging you. And honestly, I was even a little surprised because John's rates in this particular case are really not that good. And, we're both local, but I'm going to be saving you $1,800. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you really want to wait an entire year and lose $1,800? Or would you at least be willing to talk with me about possibly switching over now? If especially if I'm able to help you with a cancellation fee and all that, I'm sure you'd be interested in something, right? See what I'm doing there? I'm, coming back in, and now I'm so surprised that the savings are so high that, I'm willing to do that. Now, let me tell you guys another quick tip. And I know this is taking a while, so just, if you have to hop off after a little while, that's fine. But I want to explain some of this to you guys. Understand the people that it's very difficult to get a statement from them. Understand that those are the people you're probably going to be able to offer the biggest savings to. Because if they're not willing to give a statement to you, they're also not willing to give a statement to anybody else. So they probably haven't had a competitive bid for a long time, definitely since the Durbin Amendment came out, back in October. So a lot of times, those are the people you can give them the best pricing and the best savings. So you need to work extra hard at the people that are, leery of giving you the statement. You got to work extra hard to get that statement. Okay, I'm going to keep moving on here. I have great rates, no reason to switch. We just covered that one. Too much trouble to switch. Last time we switched, it was a nightmare. Again, whenever they give you an objection like this, listen to what they're saying. They're giving you background information, but you need to expand on that and say, oh boy, I'm sorry to hear that. That really reflects bad on me and my industry that something would happen. Tell me what happened. People will love to complain to you because they feel like you're kind of part of the same industry and, they can tell you this. So get the complaints. Get it all aired out there, and then you can move forward. Everybody claims to save me money. I've already got the best deal. Here again is where I would point out the 3-year agreement and the free equipment. And find out, do they have free equipment already, or do they have a 3-year agreement, and see if you can set yourself apart with that. We're not looking to switch till the first of the year. We already covered that again, and say, when somebody tells me that, guys, I just immediately agree with them. I don't even have a problem with that because, listen, guys, they are telling you you can give us an estimate. They're just saying you can't give it to us until the first of the year. Well, that's fine with me, okay? I don't care. I'm not trying to sell them. I'm just trying to get a credit card processing statement. That's all I'm trying to do. So at this point, I'm going to say, oh, that's fine. That's no problem at all. A lot of clients have a bidding cycle they go through, and I certainly respect that. You know what I would like to do, Bob, since I'm already here today, and I'm already out here anyway, and I know I'm going to want to give you a bid at the first of the year, what I'd like to do is, if you don't mind, can I go ahead and give you the free cost analysis, and that way you guys can just put it in your file, and you'll have it at the first of the year, so that when you're ready to get bids, my bid will already be submitted. Are you okay with that? And they will tell you yes 9 times out of 10, okay? When they do, you go ahead and get the statement, do the cost analysis, boom, you're all set. Now you can come back in and you move on to the next stage. Now in the next stage, you're doing the presentation. So that's where you're going to start working them through the closing deal. All processors are the same. I'm sick of you guys. Now, again, you say, boy, it sounds like you had a really, really bad experience, and I'm sorry about that. I mean, can I ask what happened? And so, start a conversation, talk to them. Again, understand that when they say all processors are the same, I'm sick of you guys, what are they really saying? They're saying, I don't trust you. Okay? That's what they're saying. So talk to them, and they might start trusting you once you start talking to them. How can you save me money from other processors? First of all, if somebody asks me that, that's actually a buyer sign. Okay? That's not an objection. If somebody says, how can you save me money? Or if they say, well, how can you provide me with free equipment? Or if they say, well, now, how come you guys are able to do the month-to-month agreements? Those are not objections. Those are buyer signs, because that means the person is thinking about it. So they're like thinking, oh, I might go with this guy, but I wonder how he can save me money. So then, obviously, you can tell them how you can save them money. Talk about the Durbin Amendment. Talk about how our rates are lower because, you're an independent business owner, and so you have different processors you work with, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, really, however you want to explain it is fine, but that's a buyer sign. It all ends up the same in the end. We talked about that basically already. And I would say, boy, again, I would say, it sounds like you had a bad experience. Can you tell me about that? I've been burnt too many times in the past. Again, same deal. All right. Next one we have is I'm with my local bank. And Matt, go ahead and give me this one, and I'll do the rebuttal real quick to it here.
You know what, James? We just got set up a few months ago, and I set up my bank account over here with PNC, and I went through them, and they've been treating me pretty well. So.
Okay, well, that's great. And a lot of my clients use their local bank. I certainly understand that. By the way, guys, do you notice how I always start off that way? I always say, oh yeah, a lot of my clients do that. I understand, because I want to make sure they know I understand what they're saying. Then I'm going to say, now, Matt, one thing you might not, really fully understand is that, for instance, PNC Bank, Matt, they have a totally separate division, basically a different company that goes under the PNC brand that does their credit card processing. So you're not really doing credit card processing with your local bank. It's just that they have a totally separate, large, big company division that does credit card processing. And all that happens is your local bank sends your information to that company, and then they try to set you up with the credit card processing, and then your local bank gets a real small percentage of that profit on their P&L statement. So, I mean, that's really how it works, Matt, is really what you're doing is you're really just dealing with another big, credit card processing, company. Now, here's my question for you, Matt. After you've been dealing with them as this big company out there, if you were getting some supplies, let's say for your business, now I'm trying to think of a business type here. Okay, let's say that this is a restaurant, okay, and they're buying stuff. I would say, now, Matt, with your business, let me ask you something. If you were going to Walmart or Sam's Club and you were going there because you were buying ingredients that you needed, that you used a lot of every month, I mean, something you spent $1,000 a month on, and you were buying that from Sam's Club or Walmart or another big wholesale distributor, and you found out that a local provider, a local business owner in your small business community offered those same ingredients, and they might be able to give you a little bit of a discount or even match the price or, get pretty close or give you a discount on it, would you at least give that person the opportunity, the local vendor, the opportunity to bid on getting your business?
Yeah, I suppose it would. To be honest with you, I don't like Walmart.
Well, exactly, yeah, and most small business owners don't. I don't like Walmart. They come into town, they take up all the business, and next thing you know, all the small businesses that were around them shut down, and it's sad. And, I like to support my local small business community. I mean, if you were one of my clients, I would be coming here to go out to eat, rather than going to Applebee's, because I like to support the small business community, and I didn't even know you were here actually until a little bit ago, but now my wife and I will come here to eat, because that's what we do, and I know you're the same way. Now here's the thing. The truth is, I know you feel like you're dealing with your local bank, but let's be honest here, Matt. Is PNC a small local business?
No, they're not.
No, they're not. I'm a small local business, so really we should be doing business together, again, if I can offer you savings. Now, if my prices are way out of line, obviously you're not going to go with me, and I understand and I accept that. But all I would ask is the same thing you just said you'd offer any local vendor. Could I at least give you a free cost analysis just to show you what the savings would be if you decided to switch to me? Could I at least do the free cost analysis?
Well, yeah, sure.
Okay, so there you go. So that's how you handle the local bank thing. Again, the biggest problem with most of these objections is that you're trying to ask, how do I sell these people? That's the wrong question. Don't try to sell them. Try to get the credit card processing statement and then come back, and you can show them the savings that you're going to offer. And then all of these objections about you're no different than anybody else, your prices are the same as everybody else, those objections all go away because you come back with a cost analysis and you can say, no, I'm not. Because here's the cost analysis. I'm saving you $100 a month. So obviously I am different. I'm offering you free equipment and a month-to-month agreement, so I am basically the exact opposite of the current processor that you are using. I'm cheap, I have a month-to-month agreement and free equipment. Your current company is a 3-year agreement, they're more expensive and they're not, so you guys get the idea. All right, here we go. The main reason that they're happy with their bank or they don't want to switch credit card processors in talking with them, I can't tell that they are much more educated I can tell they're much more educated on the industry and have already been contacted several times. Okay, now this objection I'm just going to answer. First of all, they are not that educated about the industry. They just think they are. Merchants do not know that much about the industry. If I get somebody that's, a real smart guy, and they know everything about the industry. Well, I know, and this is not, you're not really providing, those people like that. This is what I always do. I always say, oh, okay, well, no, that's fine. Now let me ask you a question, Matt. What is your current effective rate? And they're going to go, well, what's that? And I'll say, oh, you don't know what the effective rate? Well, it's pretty simple. You just take your total fees divided by your total processing volume. Let's figure that out real quick. What was your total fees last month? And they'll know that because they feel like they know everything about credit card processing. They'll know what their total fees were and their total processing. You divide those out and say, oh, so your effective rate was 4.2% last month. Wow, man, that's really high. I have customers in the same exact industry you're in, and they're paying an effective rate of 2.2, 2.3%. So I'm literally saving them about 50% over what you're paying. And then, you can move on. Or I'll say, let me ask you a question. Have you ever considered interchange plus pricing versus tier pricing? Now, again, I would never ask that question to a regular merchant. But these merchants that, they're so smart you can't teach them anything, ask them those two questions and watch the dumb look on their face. And they will suddenly realize that you know more than they do. And then they might trust you enough to listen to the rest of your pitch. They have been contacted a lot of times for sure. In here it mentions, I can tell that they've been contacted several times. If somebody told me they've only been contacted several times, I think that's a gold mine. It's when they say they've been contacted 50 times that I start to feel like, oh boy, this is going to be tough. I wonder how happy they really are. Is it a matter of happiness or avoiding risk? Ask them, have you referred a lot of your friends to the bank? The reason that I ask is, now let me show you how that works. Matt, can you tell me that you're really happy with your local bank?
Well, they're all right.
Yeah. Matt, tell me, be a client that's telling me that the reason you don't want to go with me is just because you love your bank. You're so happy with them.
All right. You know what, James? They've done a lot for me when I first got started. They've always treated me well. With their customer service is excellent. And they've always given me good rates.
Wow, that's awesome, Matt. Let me ask you a question, Matt. Have you referred a lot of the other business owners in the area? Have you referred a lot of them to that bank? Now, Matt doesn't know how to respond because he doesn't know what I'm looking for. But okay, if you use that line, let me tell you what you will find. 19 out of 20 will say no. They have not referred anyone to the bank. This is what I say. Then I always follow it up and say, the reason I ask is that, my clients, man, I mean, I get so many referrals that I hardly have time to even keep following up on them because, people are so satisfied with the service I provide, they refer me to a lot of their friends. Now, Matt, the reason I say that is because what I found is really with the local bank, it seems to me more of a matter of comfort. Don't you feel like it's just you're really comfortable with them? You feel like it'd be a risk to switch. Does that more accurately, portray the way that you feel about the bank? You just don't want to switch because you're comfortable with them. You feel like they haven't done anything wrong, so why should you switch, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Basically, guys, what you got to do is when somebody says, "Oh, I'm just so happy with the company that I'm with, the guy that I'm with, etc., you have to rephrase what they're saying. You have to rephrase it in a way that's more favorable for you. So what I do is say, because guys, face it, okay? If they were really that excited and happy about their bank, guess what? They would have told everybody, but they didn't. My clients tell everybody because they really are happy with me. So I make them I plant that seed in their mind, and then I say the reason I ask is because, my clients that are happy with me, I mean, they just keep sending me referral after referral after referral because that really shows that they actually want other people to experience the kind of service that I provide. Now, it seems to me, Matt, like other people I've dealt with that are dealing with the bank, it seems really more a matter of comfort. In other words, you don't want to have a risk. You don't want to risk switching over to somebody else because you're comfortable. They haven't done anything wrong, so why should you switch, right? And see, when I say it like that, they're going to say yes. Once they say yes, they've admitted that it's not that they're really that satisfied or excited about the service. It's just that they don't want to risk switching over to me. So now I'm going to go back and say, well, here's what I'd like to do, Matt. I totally understand that. There's no reason for you to take a big risk for no reason, and I get that. So let me do this. Let me give you a free cost analysis, and let's see if we can make a reason. If the reason's not there, if you don't think there's enough money to justify trying to make a change and working with me, then I will not have any hard feelings, and I understand completely. But let me at least give you a cost analysis. You're going to let me do that, right, Matt?
Yeah, sure.
And Matt's, of course, going to say yes because I'm just amazing. Just kidding. It's so easy.
You know what? I mean, the way James presents this, and James and I have a very similar sales tactics. And, I mean, really, guys, when you present it like this, first of all, you're not going to get a lot of these objections all the time if you present yourself correctly.
Yeah.
And the way James is doing it, you'll change a lot of people's mind. You'll work through that their initial guard that they always have up with being that I don't trust you or, whatever the other reasons is. And James is actually very good at that. And you will get a lot of people that will agree to give you a statement.
Yeah.
And let you do a cost analysis just because James tears down those barriers, so to speak.
Yeah, I will tell you guys, one of my favorite things to do, I almost laugh when I talk about it because it's so funny. I'll get a sub-agent and he'll tell me that, the market's terrible. He can't sell. And I wish I could do this for some of you guys but you're too far away. But he'll come in and say, James, I can't do this. It's too difficult, blah, 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 all this crap, and nobody could sell in this market. I gave him the wrong city. And I'll say, hey, give me a list of your last 20 not interested clients. He'll give me his list of his last 20 not interested clients. I've never not been able to sell at least 3 of them. So, usually when I come back with the third sale and say, hey, here's that hot prospect list you gave me the other day, we got 3 to sign up from that. All of a sudden it opens this whole new realm to them oh, it's me, and it is, okay? It's you. If you're not selling, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not the clients, it's not the market, it's not the offer, it's not the processor, it's not the paperwork. It's you. All right. So learn these objections and rebuttals and, learn how to talk like a salesman, learn how to be confident and professional and you'll do really well. Joshua says, there are a few businesses across the street that don't accept credit cards. What's the best way to approach them? A dentist, thrift store. Hey, that's actually a good objection. We didn't get that one. Matt, tell me you don't accept credit card.
I've got that one covered in my portion of it. If you want.
Oh, you do. Good. All right, we're gonna keep going then. Josh, we'll cover that one in a minute. I can't switch. First of all, be prepared to move on and forget about them quickly. If you get somebody that says, I can't switch, there's no way. It's not possible for me to switch. People that are just being unrealistic. Be prepared to move on, and I'll show you some in a minute. Have a way to stay in contact with minimal time investment. Here's what I mean by that, okay? if you go in and you realize, and you'll realize pretty quickly, once you get more experience, you'll realize really quickly, I'm not going to make this sale. I could stand on my head. I could, sing a song for them. I could dance. I'm not getting this sale. Doesn't matter what I do. I could hand them a $100 bill. This is not a sale that I'm going to get today. Okay, so in that case, move on. But as you move on, find a way to stay in contact with them. I have a whole webinar I did in the webinar archive on setting up a MailChimp campaign for email. Get their email address. And say, hey, you know what? That's fine. And no, that's fine. I understand you can't switch right now. You won't be able to for a while. I get that. That's no problem. Hey, let me do you a favor though. I do have a really cool email newsletter I send out once a month to all the business owners in the local area. I would like to get you signed up for that. You wouldn't mind if I sent you an email once a month, would you? And they're usually going to say, no, that's fine, because they respect the fact that you didn't push them until they were upset. So you get their email address. So now every month you're sending them an email. I get tons of leads from that because, people see me every month in the email. And so then when they inevitably have a problem with their processor, they're going to call me. Get their LinkedIn profile. Say, hey, it was really a pleasure meeting you today. I try to stay connected with the business owners in the local area. Do you have are you on LinkedIn? And if they say, yeah, then say, oh, you know what? Let me send you an invite. What's your email address? So then you get their email address and you have their LinkedIn profile. So you can now email them a LinkedIn, invite, and you can connect with them on LinkedIn, post updates on LinkedIn whenever you get a sale, and congratulations to so-and-so for joining our service, etc. Have a Facebook page or a blog. That's a little later on in your business, but you can start building a blog with an RSS feed, ways to stay in contact with people that say they can't switch. There's really two objections that we got for this one. One is that they're under a contract, which I already dealt with that one. The other one is we go through an association, and I wouldn't really, the one that's we're under contract, I already dealt with that, the 3-year agreement, and talk about how that, why do you think they made you sign a 3-year agreement, go that route. If they say they are going through an association, what they mean is, I can't switch because I'm part of this association. I really treat that the same way that I treat a family or friend. Okay, what I do is I'll usually say something like, so do you feel like that it would be a betrayal to your group if you switch to me, even if I was able to offer you better prices? And sometimes I find about half of the time they'll say, yeah, man, I just can't leave that group. We're all in it together. We get a bulk rate. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's no problem. And then I'll usually say, well, who would I contact at the association to put in a bid for the processing for all the locations? And then I'll treat it like a big deal. Sometimes though they'll say, oh no, I don't. It's not that. I just get a really good price. I mean, if somebody offered me a better price, I don't think it'd be a betrayal. It's savings is savings. Well, now I know how to approach that the other way of saying, okay, great. Well, then sounds like we're in agreement. Then I agree. If I can't offer you savings, obviously I don't think you should go with me. So how about I go ahead and give you a free cost analysis? I'll swing by next week on Thursday and we can go over it. And are you going to be here next Thursday? And then the drill from there. Go ahead and get the statement. Okay. Next day funding. I'm also going to cover this one without Matt. Because next day funding is an issue that we get sometimes from agents. I had 2 people submit this one. Educate. Understand how next day funding works. If you don't understand how next day funding works or how to rebuttal this objection, email me after the webinar. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because we're running out of time. But go ahead and email me and I will send you an entire blog article on how to deal with overcoming the next day funding. Or you can go to CCSalesPro.com. In the search bar, type in next day funding. I got a couple questions over here. Hold on. About the LinkedIn, what should be my title? Independent sales agent. I actually call myself a licensed sales agent is what I called myself when I was building my LinkedIn profile. So you can do that. The other thing that you can do that's even better is to create a doing business as name for your business early on. Like me, multi-merchant processing. Within about 3 or 4 months, my LinkedIn profile said I was the owner of multi-merchant processing. That's the best thing you can do. If you are the owner of your own little company, that works out great. But make sure when you actually do the paperwork and the business cards, it has to say an agent of Total Merchant Services or an agent of North American Bank Card, because they're real picky about that. You can't try to say that you are a processing company, but you can make a business name. If it doesn't have the word processing in it, it'll actually be a little better. I had a little problems with that with mine. But make yourself a doing business as name and then list yourself as the owner of that company. And that's really the best way to build your. Once you're going to start building your online profile, you really need a doing business as name to be really, really effective. Okay. understand you don't want to sell a lot next day funding very much. We do offer the same next day funding as everyone else. So understand that. Through North American Bank Card, we do offer next day funding. I have never sold next day funding. So there you go. Somehow I've been able to be a top salesman in the merchant services industry having never sold next day funding. So it is possible. Next day funding is terrible and it is a potential nightmare account. So be very careful with that. So let me tell you how I do that. Somebody says we require next day funding. It shows up in our bank account the next day. I would say, I've had a few people mention next day funding to me. Can I ask, why is next day funding so important to your business? Now, you will be shocked at the responses that you get to this. The most common response is, I don't know, it's just nice to have the money in there. That's honestly the most common response. Most agents, they hear next day funding and they start to shake and they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to, sell next day funding. And they get all nervous and then they lose the sale because they assume that it's really important. It's not really that important. Think about it. If you're running a business, is it really going to matter that much if you get your credit cards the next day or 3 days later? I mean, are those 2 days of cash flow really going to make that big of a difference? And if so, you're probably about to go out of business. So understand that the reality is next day funding is not important. That's the reality. Now, the perception of the merchant might be that next day funding is really important to their business. They might have that perception, okay? But the reality is it's not important. So understand that and educate your customers on that fact, okay? So this is then what I do once they respond with whatever they respond with, whatever their ridiculous response is. I always say, well, let me ask you a question. If the bank called you and said, we have a new charge for our credit card processing, we're going to charge you an extra $50 a month to have next day funding, or you can choose to have it 2 to 3 business days later and that won't cost you anything extra. Which option would you choose in that case? When you ask them which option they would choose, they almost always say, well, I wouldn't pay $50. I mean, I would just choose, whatever. I say, okay, so basically, as long as I can save you, because I don't really like next day funding, we do offer it, but I found that a lot of times it can be problematic, and so I don't really offer it to my clients, and I found it just works a lot better, a lot more steady cash flow the other way. So as long as I can save you $50, $60 a month, we're good on the next day funding, right? And then they say, yeah, that's good. Okay, so that's how I handle that. All right, here we go. I think, one more here, and then I think we're on to Matt's deal. So, and we'll have a couple Matt will do here in just a second. The most important objection for active listening. If somebody says, I might switch, but not today, you must understand the merchant because they could mean different things. Let me give you an example. Here are 4 different things that the merchant means when they say, I might switch, but not today. Understand, whenever they say maybe or however they word it, they're saying one of these 4 things most likely. Number 1, I want to see if you're willing to let me think about it or if you're just another pushy salesman. That's what they could mean. They could mean, if you think you have to get this sale today, then you're probably shady, which, guys, is probably true. You know what I mean? Most salespeople that have to make a sale right now at this moment usually are kind of shady, and usually you're not getting a good deal because they're trying to get you to make an emotional decision. So I agree with the merchant. Next, I'm busy today. They could be saying I'm busy. Not today. I'm busy. I still don't trust you. They could be saying that. I have no intention of saying yes, but I hate to say no. Now, this is an important one because if that's what they're trying to say, then you want to be able to get out of there and stop wasting your time. But, they might not be saying that. They might be saying something else. So how do we decide what they're saying? We use active listening, okay? Here we go. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, Matt, can you give me some kind of version of let me think about it?
You know what, James? I've got a couple bids in here, and it's holiday time. Let me think about it until the first of the year.
Oh, sure, Matt. That's no problem. I totally understand. What I'll do, I'll put a note in my calendar to follow up with you. Probably the second week of January would be better, right? Because the first week of January, you'll still be busy for all the post-holiday sales and stuff, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, now notice how quickly he immediately lets his guard down and immediately agrees to meet me in the second week of January. So number 1, understand that I've done 2 things. I've lowered his guard. He now thinks I'm great. And secondly, I now have a meeting for the second week of January. And let's be honest, I'm okay with that. If I don't get the sale right now, I can always back up to the second week of January. If I tick him off, I'm not going to get this meeting in the second week of January. So I already got the meeting in the second week of January. Now I say, okay, great, Matt. I'd be happy to come back. Now I do want to have a couple notes for that meeting when I come back, Matt. Out of all the things I presented to you so far, let me ask you 2 questions. Number 1, is there anything about the offer, the pricing, anything about that you still have a question about that you don't yet understand?
No, it's all pretty black and white.
Okay, great. All right, good. Well, I'll put that down here. And then one other note, Matt, if you could identify one main concern out of everything I've presented to you, and I know you've got some other bids you've been looking at and things like that. So as far as my offer to you, Matt, what would be the main thing right now that's keeping you from moving forward with the process of getting switched over as far as my offer goes? What's the main thing you look at? I mean, maybe, and be honest with you. Maybe you look at and say, hey, I don't really know you. I'm okay with that, if that's the issue, or maybe it's the pricing, or maybe it's the equipment. I don't know what it is. What would you say would be the main concern that you have right now? And I'll stop, Matt. You don't need to reply to that, but you guys get the idea. So when I do that, that's a main concern. Now I can start to move forward based on that main concern. And you're going to find out all kinds of interesting things if you phrase it like that. Okay. And again, this is the same thing. Let me talk to my partner, wife, think about it. Whenever they do that, guys, always go ahead and set the follow-up meeting. Basically, do exactly what the customer wants you to do. They're going to let their guard down, and you're going to get a follow-up meeting. And I can't tell you how many sales I've made from those follow-up meetings. If I did that objection or that rebuttal a minute ago to Matt, and Matt would have said, something legitimate and said, James, to be honest with you, my partner doesn't even get back until after the holidays, and we're just so busy right now. I just don't want to deal with this. Okay, I'm fine with that. I'll follow up with you the second week of January, like I said, and I'll come back and make that sale 9 times out of 10. So I'm fine with that. So don't be afraid to set a follow-up. It's not like you failed if you set a follow-up meeting. But don't set a follow-up meeting without saying what's the main concern, because you need to know what's going on. I'm sorry, I put that back in there. Let me talk to my current company first. This is a little different. Matt, go ahead and give me that one.
You know what? Let me talk to my current company first, see if they'll offer me something better.
Okay. Well, Matt, I certainly understand that. Now, let me ask you a question, Matt. Now, how long have you been with the company that you're with right now?
About a year.
About a year. So 12 months you've been with them. Now, Matt, I was able to offer you savings of $100 a month over what they've been charging you. So that means that during the time that you were processing with them, if you would have been with me, you would have saved $1,200, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Matt, I want to make sure we're on the same page, because one thing I hate doing is the price war, where you go to them, then you come back to me, et cetera, et cetera. I don't really do that. I just give you my best rate. I did give you my best rate today. That is my rate. But here's the problem, Matt. Now, think about if you were the processing company that you're currently with, okay? If somebody like you called in and said, I got a lower rate from this other guy and it's $100 less, you would probably match my price, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, I'm sure they would.
Okay, so if they match your price, that means they could have given you that price a year ago, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, I guess it does.
Yeah, so really that $1,200 that they charged you, I would pretty much call that an overcharge, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so would you say it's fair, Matt, that unless they're willing to refund the $1,200 that they've overcharged you over the last year, you're not going to be willing to stay with them? That's not the kind of company you're willing to do business with, is it?
Sorry, I just laughed because
you have nothing to say. Yeah, so
obviously they're going to say yes.
Yeah, of course. So they're going to say yes. All right, so now I'm still going to move forward with that sale. Now, I might not get it right now, but I'm still going to move forward. And even if I don't, here's what you have to understand. You're at a huge advantage here. A lot of agents think they're at a disadvantage. They're not. They're at a huge advantage, because understand, if they go back to their current processor and their processor matches the price, that doesn't mean you lost the deal. They didn't sign with somebody else. They're still in the exact same situation they were in a week ago when you talked to them. You can still get them to switch the same way. It's not like you lost the deal to a competitor, and now they're like, oh, I just chose somebody else. I'm not going to get you, So you're at a huge advantage. Even if they go back to their processor and they decide to go with them, I'm still going to push forward today and say, well, if that's the case, I tell you what I'm going to do for you, okay? Let's go ahead and get you started today. If you find out that they are willing to match the price, then obviously you're going to stay with me because, they were overcharging you. But if they offer you a little bit of a lower price to try to get your business back, I will immediately and automatically match their price no matter what it is that they give you. Is that fair? And of course, Matt would normally say yes to that. He might say, well, no, I don't know about that or whatever, and that's fine. Then I'm going to follow up in a week. If I follow up in a week and he called his processor and they matched my price and he's like, I just decided it was such a pain, I didn't want to do that, and I would just look like he just punched me in the stomach, I'd say, Matt, I'm confused. When I talked to you last week, you said that unless they refunded the $1,200, you wouldn't think of staying with a company that would lie to you like that. Did they refund the $1,200? And Matt says no. And I say, So, I mean, you're still going to go with me, right? You're going to switch over because you said you didn't want to deal with a company like that, right? And you guys get the idea. So we're going to make the sale out of guilt. Okay? Play guilt to your advantage in this situation. All right, selling over the phone. Now we're going to switch it around, and I'm now going to be the customer because I don't know how to sell over the phone. Matt can attest to that. So I don't know how to sell over the phone. Matt does. So we're going to switch it around. Matt, I am going to give you the objection. You're going to give me the rebuttal.
All right. Well, let me start by saying that going over the phone, especially with the objections, it's not too much different than going business to business. You know, you're not sitting there waiting on people to throw objections at you. Now, that's why my script is actually a little longer than what I've seen most people use, and it's because I expect them to listen to me. You know, they're not going to just throw objections at me. I expect them to listen to me, and most of them do when you present it correctly. But for time's sake, I'm not going to go through my script. If you have interest in selling over the phone or whatever, shoot James and I an email, and I will work with you on that. But for time's sake, we're just going to run through the objectives.
Yeah, so if you're an active agent on our team and you want to get the script for this stuff, send this to Matt because this won't be included in my scripts. So, okay, let's see. How should we do the gatekeeper one? Go ahead, Matt. Call me. I guess I should have you say something, and then I'll be the gatekeeper.
Yeah, hi, can I speak to James?
Actually, who is this?
This is Matt with Multi-Merchant Processing.
Oh, Matt, he's not taking calls right now.
Okay. Well, I'll try back at another time. When's usually a good time to get about 5 minutes of their time?
Boy, I don't know, Matt. I don't think he'd want to talk to anybody. You're trying to sell something?
Well, I'm actually not selling anything at all. I just want to talk to him about his current merchant services provider.
Oh, well, I mean, you could try back tomorrow. He's usually in the afternoon.
Okay, I will then. We'll do then. Now, guys, if you call back a couple times in the afternoon, which is what the gatekeeper told me, some of them are programmed to just mislead you when to call back because they don't want you to talk to the business owner. So if you call back a couple times in the afternoon and you never get a hold of them, reverse it. Try calling back early morning or, vice versa. If they tell you he's only in the morning, call back late afternoon or the evening if you try a couple times in the morning and they're never there. That's just, and also never let a gatekeeper decide whether the business owner is interested or not.
Yeah, good call. Okay, so you get the owner on the phone. Matt, I'm not interested.
Well, you know what, James? I've never really ran into too many business owners who aren't interested in saving money. Now, I'm offering you $500 if I cannot beat your rate and save you money. Also, I don't have any contracts, and I'm giving you free equipment. And if you decide to go with me, it'll literally take you about 5 minutes to do what I need you to do to switch. So what am I missing here? I mean, what part of that doesn't interest you?
That's awesome. I don't even know what to say to that. That's awesome. Very good. Yeah, guys, memorize that line. You can use that one in the field, too, by the way. That's a very, very good line. I love what am I missing here? That's a great line.
That's, the objections over the phone and objections face-to-face, they're not they're not too much different, guys.
Right. All right, let's see here.
We've covered this one, but I'll say what I say over the phone.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Just say what you'd say.
All right. You know what, James? I realize I'm not the first person that's called you telling you I can save you money, but I want you to understand something. I'm not just a telemarketer working for some middleman company. I'm an independent agent with the actual processors, and I have $500 that says I can beat your rate. So all I need you to do is email me or fax me a statement, and I'll put my money where my mouth is.
Good. Very nice. Love it. And notice, guys, over the phone, one of the big things you'll notice over the phone is the $500 guarantee. Both TMS and NAB have a guarantee of $500 that they'll beat the rate. If they don't beat the rate, they'll pay them $500. I've not found that to be extremely successful in the field. Some agents do use it. It sounds kind of gimmicky in the field, but over the phone, it works great. So, that's one thing you want to notice. It's a little bit different when you're over the phone talking to somebody. You know what, Matt? I get like 10 or 15 calls a day from one of you guys. I'm just not interested.
See above objection.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd say the same exact thing as I did the last time. James, I realize I'm not the first person that's called you. You got to separate yourself from the people that are calling them. Most of the calls they get are from a telemarketer or a call center, not the actual agent. So you really need to make sure that they understand that you're the actual agent that they're going to be dealing with.
And let me point out, too, guys, notice that his rebuttal doesn't start with a rebuttal. His rebuttal starts with, I understand. I realize. You have to start your rebuttals with that. If your rebuttal is just, well, I'm not a telemarketer. I'm just an independent business owner. Click. You have to say you realize, you understand. You have to empathize. Understand how they feel. Listen to them. What is this? I just don't have time for. Matt, I guess really what this is saying is, Matt, I really don't have time to deal with this, man. I don't have time to talk with you right now about all this.
Yeah. You know what, James? I understand you're busy. Running a business isn't easy, but I tell you what, take a couple minutes and email me or fax me a statement, and I'll do a cost analysis for you and call you back on, we'll say Monday, to share the results with you. And if you like what you hear and want to switch, it only takes you about 5 minutes to do what I need you to do, and I have a very simple process. Okay?
Nice. Matt, I'm actually going to be out of town, vacation here for a few weeks. So why don't you give me a call back in next month or so?
Oh, okay, good deal. Man, I could use one of those myself. Where are you going?
We're heading to Hawaii. Wishful thinking.
Good. Well, I hope you enjoy yourself. I tell you what, I'll give you a call a few days after you get back and let you get settled back in. When do you plan on returning?
I'm probably going to be back here on September 30th.
Okay, well, good deal. I'll give you a call, the first week of October.
Okay.
And we'll see where you're at, okay?
Great. Sounds good. There you go.
And don't push them before they're going to go on vacation.
Yeah, you want to make somebody angry, push them before their vacation, right? Yeah. One thing I would add, sometimes you might try to do the, if somebody says they're going to be gone for a month, especially face to face, sometimes you can try to get the statement and say, oh, that's no problem. What I'll do is I'll work on the cost analysis while you're gone, and then I'll follow up with you when you get back. And you say the same thing like Matt said, and once they agree to it, they're actually agreeing to give you a statement because they just said it was okay for you to work on the cost analysis while they're gone. So that's one thing you try. But again, if they, if they're not liking that, don't push it because they're going on vacation. So you're about to be in big trouble. Man, I wish I could. I understand the savings and all that, but I'm in a contract. I couldn't switch even if I wanted to.
And really, we've
already covered that one. Okay, let's go on. We already covered that one too. Let's see here. Did we cover the I don't accept credit cards? We did that one, right?
No. I told you to wait a minute.
Oh, okay. All right. Matt, you know what? I don't accept credit cards, and I really don't want to.
You know what, James? I can understand your hesitation. I've talked with several business owners over the years who felt the same way. And they felt like it's going to be too much of a hassle or it's going to cost too much money. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, it is. I just think it's a ripoff to, pay money to accept money. I get cash. I don't have to pay anything for that.
Yeah, you know what? And a lot of people have felt the same way, James. But what we've actually found is merchants who started accepting credit cards that weren't previously actually saw a 20 to 30% increase in their profits. Now, let me give you an example. So you're a pizza place, and obviously, nowadays less and less people are carrying cash.
Right.
So let's say Bob and Nancy, your customers, they both get home from work. They're hungry. Their kids are hungry. Nancy's tired. She doesn't feel like fixing anything for dinner. Maybe she doesn't even have time to stop at the store, so they want to get something out. And they love your pizza. They've ate your pizza several times, and that sounds especially good tonight. So they want to get a couple large pizzas, but they only have $20 on them. So they say, well, maybe some other time. I guess we'll have to settle for Pizza Hut since they take cards. Or maybe $20 is enough to get what they need, but it's not really what they want. Maybe they want breadsticks and wings and a 2-liter of Pepsi with their 2 large pizzas, but they don't have enough cash. So you get what I'm saying? Accepting credit cards increases your profits because people spend more money on their cards.
Yeah, good one. I like that. That's awesome. That's basically the exact same line I use, same exact thing. And the other thing, too, that I tell them is at the end of that, I also add on and say, once they say, yeah, I understand that, I say, and by the way, the other thing you got to realize is if they go to Pizza Hut and buy a pizza and they give them their card and their address and their information, do you think Pizza Hut's going to leave them alone, or is Pizza Hut going to try to get them to come back by giving them coupons? And, do you really want to let Pizza Hut inside the home of your client? So... very good, very good. What else do we have here? Yeah, we already covered that. I don't know, Matt, if you even have a good one for this. Do you have one for this, the POS system thing?
To be honest with you, like you said earlier, be ready to move on quickly. I don't waste a lot of time with these, especially over the phone.
Over the phone.
There's all kinds of people that are interested.
If you're over the phone and somebody's got a POS system that's integrated and, have a nice day. Honestly, that's pretty tough. If you're in person, that's what I call a have a nice day objection. Like my son does my processing. Have a nice day. So I wouldn't really mess with that. I mean, if you're face-to-face, definitely do the POS thing, and you guys know what to do with that pretty much, is that, we support POS systems and educate the client.
Even if, even if you want to try it over the phone, I'll typically say, oh, you know what, James, I don't want to change your system. I know a lot of POS systems are customized to your specific business. Now, we work with a lot of different software companies, and most of the time we can take over your processing without any hassle. And then just move on and try to get the statement. Don't push it too hard. If they're still, if they still don't want to give you the statement after that, then just move on and don't waste your time.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, let's back up. We got Derek asked us to do this. Okay, so the person that, you're somebody that doesn't accept credit cards. Tell me that the reason you don't is because you have an ATM machine and that, people get cash.
All right. You know what? I don't accept credit cards. I've got an ATM that the people can use if they come in. So I just don't see where I need it.
Sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, a lot of people do use the ATM machines to get the cash out. Let me ask you a question, though. Have you ever gone into a business before where you didn't have cash and maybe you needed some cash and you had to go to an ATM machine where there was a charge for you to use the ATM machine? Have you ever had to do that before?
Oh, yeah.
How did you feel about that? Did you feel like maybe it was kind of a ripoff to get $20 out and have to pay $3 or $4 to get that $20? Does that kind of make you upset?
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me upset, So, now here's the question I have for you, though, Matt. If a lot of your clients are doing that and they're getting more cash out, there's a couple things I got a question about, though. Number one, let's say that somebody comes into your store and they have $10 cash, okay? But they want to spend $20. Do you think that they would be willing to get the $20 out of the cash machine, or would they probably just spend the $10 that they have on them?
Yeah, they'd probably just spend the $10.
So right there on that particular sale, you cut your revenue in half. Let me ask you another question. If they came in and they had to use their ATM card to get $20 out, you just said that would probably make them a little bit upset and feel like, they were taken advantage of. Do you want your clients to feel like you did, that you were taken advantage of?
Well, no, not at all.
Okay, well, I mean, really, by your own logic, we probably need to get a credit card machine put in. Now, the real question is, why wouldn't you want a credit card machine? I kind of have a feeling that some salesmen in the past really made it seem like a bad deal, and maybe they told you had to pay a bunch of money up front or some kind of application fee or a big contract. I mean, what is it that's kept you all these years from getting credit cards when all your competitors are using them successfully? And there you go.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. Okay. Oh, Darren asked, how would you overcome that? I think he's referring to the POS system thing. Again, Matt already covered that, so I'm not going to mess with it. If you have a question about that, I have a video. Go to YouTube, search for CCSalesPro POS, and you'll see it'll come up right away, that video. One more we have here. Raquel, is it challenging to get past the gatekeeper on the phone to find the owner's schedule, Matt?
I don't run into it too often, to be honest with you, but it's also taken a lot of years of experience to learn how to talk to gatekeepers. So just like I said, feel them out. Whatever they tell you, if you try it a couple times, they're not there, just reverse it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't even say where I'm from. Well, who's this? Oh, this is Matt Price.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know how to react. Well, let me see if he's available. And then they'll go and ask they'll do exactly. Put yourself in their shoes. What would they do if they didn't recognize your name? They would tell the business owner, hey, Matt Price is on the phone. Do you know him? I want to talk to him. And the business owner would probably be like, no, I don't. Go ahead and give it to me. I've been in customer service. I've answered the phone for people, and that's exactly what happens, guys.
Yeah, it is. That's very true. Good call. Oh, wait. That was it. Okay. Well, that was the last slide. All right. Well, that was only an hour and a half. We still have all kinds of time. Well, first of all, Matt, thank you very much. Any final words of wisdom for us?
I'm wisdom out for today.
Thank you very much. All right, I got your line muted here. Let me just say a couple things really quick, and I'll be done. Number one, if you're not on our sales team, you're crazy. Sorry. No, if you're not on our sales team, we invite you to join us, okay? We have a lot of fun. We do a lot of role playing, as you can see here. Also, for those of you that saw my email that I sent out, yes, I realize that role play is not spelled ROLL, but, hey, I made a mistake. What can I say? Lastly, we have a new website. It's called CCSalesTraining.com, CCSalesTraining.com, as opposed to CCSalesPro.com, which is our main website. So I'm going to type it out down here, And hold on here, www.CCSalesTraining.com. Now here's what this is. Okay, new website I just put up. We just made it active. It now has all of our sales training, our comprehensive sales training course that we put new agents through is in that program. All you have to do is go and create a free account. It does not cost you a single penny to open an account. It's free. You just open an account, and then you can use that account to access any of the courses. The only course we have in there right now is the, the one for the sales training, just general. But I'm going to move a couple things there. I'm going to move the webinar archive there. So you'll have to have an account to access the webinar archive. So make sure you open an account to access the webinar archive, and you can access it for free. I'm also going to make a recruiting agents training program for how to recruit your own agents. I'm making one for telemarketing. I'm going to have Matt help me with, and we're going to do that probably in 2 or 3 months. And we're going to do that for whether you're scheduling appointments for yourself or you're trying to close over the phone or whatever. We're going to work on a training program for that. We are going to have a training program on how to set up your social media and blog to generate leads from your online content. So anyway, all of that is going to be available within the next 3 to 4 months. Some of it within the next couple weeks we're going to be updating, like the webinar archive. And that's all going to be available at CCSalesTraining.com. Now, you're still going to want to go to CCSalesPro.com. That's where we have our blog posts and our, kind of ongoing content. But then what I'm going to do, and also the 20-day Jumpstart program. I'm totally overhauling that and putting that one on that website as well. So we're going to have courses that you can go through in order on CCSalesTraining.com. And the idea is I have so much content now that it becomes difficult for an agent to work their way through the content to know how to get through it. So we're going to set this up with courses that you can go through step by step, and you can track your progress. It's a learning management system, so you can log in and see where you left off, and so you can continue on. So make sure you go to that website and open your free account. Doesn't matter if you're selling on our team or not. Anybody can do that. Let me see if we have any others here. Somebody asked what Matt's email is. It's Matt at, I'm typing it out down here, Matt at CCSalesPro.com. Matt at CCSalesPro.com. Now remember, if you want to get the script and all that, you do have to be an active agent on our team. But if you want to get some scripts and help from Matt, then definitely email him. Or if you're interested in being on a team and you'd like Matt to be your coach, I think you can tell he'd be a pretty good coach to have on your team, then you can do that. Brendan wants to know how it's going with the CRM. The CRM is done. Email me back about that, Matt, and I will set you up with a profile today. The CRM is completed. We have a brand new free CRM database, by the way, for those of you that are wondering what I'm talking about. If you're on our team, you get a free CRM database. Okay. Any other questions from anybody? If you got a question, just type out your question, whether it's an objection we didn't cover, a question about the program. If you're interested in signing up, you can email me. My email address is james@CCSalesPro.com. Now, here's the way we're working it right now, guys. Matt is taking on agents that don't have extensive industry experience. So if you're looking to get a start and you want some structure and you want a one-on-one coach, etc., contact Matt. If you're already in the industry and you're thinking, wow, I wonder if James's team would be a good one to switch over to, then you would be thinking correctly. And that's my unbiased opinion. And you should email me, james@CCSalesPro.com. If you're already on my team and you're not making sales, then email me and let me schedule a call. I'd be glad to talk with you anytime. If you're on Matt's team and you're having difficulty, just email us. Say, hey, I'm not making sales. I want to talk to you. And we'll schedule a phone call and we'll talk to you for a half hour and figure out what's going on and help you get back on track. So I don't see any other questions. Thank you all for your patience. Good night. This is a long webinar, and I'm really excited that you guys all stayed on. I hope it really helped you, and I appreciate your time today. Hope you all have a great day today. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.